All right. Hey, guys. This is Brian Leonard here at AppSmart. I run marketing here, and it's now time to start session 2 of Lead Through Technology. This is the virtual event that we are putting on to help you, our technology advisors, help your clients make the pivot to the remote workforce. So we appreciate you joining us. Congratulations for you taking the time to learn and grow and to help your clients learn and grow. So this is a series where we're learning from what the best of the best out there are doing right now, and how we can, as a community, help to grow and to help grow the channel and to help our clients as a collective unit. So this is a virtual event. It is webinar based. We have already done the first webinar that was based on how to sell a bundle of SaaS solutions, the entire solution that your client needs to go remote. This one is going to be focused on the clients who, can't wait for migrations, and they don't, want to do an integration with backup and training. They're bleeding right now, and they want to get started right now on how to get their clients on a productivity suite, how to get everybody on the same page. So obviously the big players are Microsoft and Google. What's the difference? What are the pros and cons? Which one's right for a business? How do you transfer licenses, etc. Then in an hour, we're going to be talking about the connectivity solutions that we have. What are the best of the best they're doing right now with upgrades? How do you upgrade bandwidth? How do you use VPN as a service? What are people doing with wireless right now? So those things are coming in an hour. We're going to have multiple speakers here. It's going to be interactive. There is a section for chat. If you want to ask questions with the group or want to get some group dialogue going, there's a chat section. There is a section for questions that you have. We will answer all of your questions. We'll try to do them on this webinar. If not, we'll get them through email. So we're shooting for half an hour of content, 14 or 15 minutes of questions and dialogue, and then 14 or 15 minutes of a break until the next session begins. So stay tuned for that. So our speakers, if you're new to this, we're going to have a couple speakers here. One is Steve Slaughter. He is our cloud channel manager and consultant. He's been in the cloud sales for more than 10 years. He is excellent at selling and explaining the value proposition of cloud and SaaS. Then we have Mr. Aaron Tall, who is the Director of Product Marketing here at AppSmart. He has more than 20 years in the SaaS world in bundling products, in creating SaaS products that go out to market, that customers want to buy. So he really understands the mindset of that customer that wants to buy SaaS, that wants to buy the technology solutions that we're all selling. So with no further ado, you can take it off, Mr. Aaron Tall.
All right, thanks, Brian. See if you can jump us to our agenda. Next slide there. And yeah, as Brian said, what we're going to do is we're going to take a sort of what I would call not a deep dive, like a medium dive into what the productivity suites are, what the differences are, how you can position these, how you can move them, and also what's right for each type of customer. There's subtle differences, but they can make a difference in which products people pick. So for those who weren't on the last call, I'm going to do a real quick who is AppSmart. For those who were, my apologies, I'll make it quick. Let's move right there. So AppSmart is the largest B2B marketplace for selling recurring technology services. We work with about 100 of the leading providers in the SaaS software space to provide about 300 different solutions, as well as 400 connectivity and managed cloud providers. And as you can see from the logos here, these are some of the best in the country and in the world. If we move to the next slide, you can kind of see the depth of what we can offer. So if your customers have any kind of technology need, there's not a lot that we can't service. And we wrapper all that in services. And the services are both for the agents that we work with as well as the end customers. So for the agents, we've got the commissioning, the sales support, and escalation. And for your customers, we have help desk, 24/7 support there, migration and implementation, and integrated unified billing. All right, let's move on in. So the first thing we need to talk about is sort of where the market is right now, and where there's problems and where there's opportunity. And I think the biggest one that we all have seen, if you've seen a stock ticker lately, is the economy. I mean, the money has, if compared to where it was, it stopped flowing. Vibrant downtowns are now quiet, and this is the new shut-in economy. We're all sitting, instead of in our offices, we're sitting at our homes looking at computers. What used to be a conversation you had in person, we now have over a chat like this. But there's upside to this, and I think if you look at it from the what's going on in the greater virus world right now, this technology and technologies that spun out of what we deal with are what will probably be on the leading edge of finding treatments and cures for what we're doing. And I think you'll see, no matter what the impacts are, that the handling of this will be better than pandemics in the past that didn't have the technological advantages that we have. The channel as a sales tool and as an organization, people in the channel are going to be the drivers of success as we deal with everybody from SMB to larger businesses. I mean, these folks are dealing with change they haven't experienced before. They're dealing with change at a pace they haven't dealt with before. And you advisors on the line today, you have the solutions that are going to help them get to a stable business environment. The economy that we've seen kind of cratering over the last few days, that's going to come back on the backs of the customers you're dealing with. So it's not going to be the big banks. It's going to be the people that are actually doing things and moving things forward. So, if you look at your channel, you look at your clients they're facing an uncertain future. They don't really know where to go next. They know they have to go remote. They have to function with their employees not in the office, and they don't really know the next step. They're relying on the channel. They're relying on the advisors to say, hey, this is what I've seen people do. This is how you effectively get up and running for a remote workforce. This is how you weather this storm. And your employees, you may not be able to keep them all, but the ones you have are going to have to work harder to get where they need to be. And some of the tools we have available enable that. And they enable you to move forward and then rehire those people or grow your business the way you were prior to this. All right, so let's jump forward. So I think, at the root of most businesses are the productivity apps. And I think now that we are going to this more distributed, more remote workforce, we think about them a little differently. Whereas, if you're all sitting in an office, it didn't really matter if, one person in your office was running an older version of Microsoft Word than another, or if sometimes he or she would save documents to their local drive. That was not a big deal because you could always just be like, yeah, I know you saved that locally. Can you email it to me? So, you had some issues with licensing. The mixed environments, if you weren't configured for at-home work, people would go home and they didn't have Microsoft Word, so maybe they had a Gmail account. They might just open up one of your documents on their home computer and edit it in Google Docs and save it. Or maybe they saved their own version of Drive. And I think employees want to use their own devices. If you have machines at home, you want to be able to access your accounts. You want to be able to log into your company Gmail from your home device. All of this stuff leads to somewhat of a fragmented environment, and it also is a burden on IT. IT is managing licenses, they're managing access, they're trying to keep an eye on company documents without really having a good way of knowing where they are. And again, when everybody was in one shop, you could tap a shoulder, you could ask somebody. You can still do that, but you don't know if you'll have access to the machine that they're using right now. So that's kind of where the pain came in. So we want to move. So this is the first concept of something. I'm going to pass this over to Steve to speak through because he's seen it firsthand, but it's something as we sell Microsoft and Google and we try to figure out the best one, there's a solution that we've run into that we use internally at AppSmart that I think is worth noting. So Steve, you want to speak to this one?
Yeah, so we use at AppSmart both Microsoft and Google. So if somebody shares a Microsoft Excel file or Microsoft Word doc, I can modify that document in its native form and then even collaborate and work on that document together with them without having to use a personal account on my personal computer that I've paid for. There's an industrial design firm that's a client of AppSmart. They came in last year, but this is when we started seeing companies really realizing, okay, I have remote users, office users, but everybody needs to be able to work internally and externally with whatever app or tool they want to use. And whatever app or tool whoever they're working with wants to use. So flexibility has really, really become a big thing and a big part of the opportunity for you to be able to work with AppSmart, because AppSmart does both Google and Microsoft. So you can have a first concept, meaning your email lives either in Google or in Microsoft, and so do your files. But then you have the flexibility to use the other tool for your own business case or business process. So, you know, maybe it's a specific use case. One that comes to mind is for finance teams that need heavy Excel functions and formulas. They can utilize whatever tool they need to get the job done. And then the employee's happier. It supports their personal preference. But the corporation is also secured in that they're providing these applications, and they can put their own identity and access control strategies around it. Aaron, anything
Awesome.
to add there, or cool to move on?
No, I think you covered it perfectly. The use case I always see is the Excel one. Is, you know, Google's a great product. It's fast, it's lean, but Sheets does not do what Excel does, and that's just fact. But yeah, so thanks for covering that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to dig into the different suites here, and we're going to talk about them in a kind of a high level, and we're probably going to talk about pieces that you might not talk about as often as you would other parts. So the first thing to kind of realize, and the only thing I wanted to do with this slide was to illustrate that there are a bunch of interconnected products in each of these suites. And I know for a fact, Office, Microsoft has a ton more than that. Google has some more than that, but the use cases for a lot of those are probably not real common. So for the sake of discussion, these are going to be the products we're going to be focusing on primarily. Let's slide to the next one. All right, so I know most of you probably know all about this, and what I'm going to do by illustrating this is I'm going to avoid the ones you think I'm going to talk about. So yeah, both of these have word processing, spreadsheets, presentations, email, and calendar. Those are things that we all use. We use them every day, and particularly when you look at the comparison to using this product in an office environment versus a remote environment, those were what you worked in every day. Chat, conferencing, and the access to the cloud storage, those are going to be the focuses as you move toward remote workforces. So that's that, as we spoke to in the previous session, that cultural shift, getting people engaged with the video chats and the conferencing and texting back and forth through the chat clients versus sending emails. It's a much more fluid, much more straightforward communication, and it builds that level of teamwork that you really want and that you don't want to lose when you separate out. I think the other piece I want to touch on is the cloud storage piece, and I actually had to tap into Steve the other day to really get to the bottom of what this was, because as an end user of cloud storage, you know, I have OneDrive and Google Drive, and that's what I use. But I think there's a difference, and they both come with these products. There's a difference between the SharePoint and OneDrive, which is OneDrive is your individual, SharePoint is your company, and Team Drive and Google Drive. Same thing there. Google Drive is your individual, and Team Drive is for the organization. So they both come with the suites, and one is for maintaining documents that are company-wide and company-controlled, and the other is for the individuals as they save their own files to those. In an organizational level, they're all accessible by the administrators, but it's useful to understand that they come with both. All right, let's pop to the next slide here.
So yeah,
so, you know,
Aaron, if you don't mind me taking over real quick, I'll highlight each suite. So like Aaron talked about, you know, there's highlights between these two. You know, you got the fully cloud-based G Suite with no desktop applications. It's a simplified licensing structure in that there are less flavors to pick from, if you will. The document sharing is very integrated. It's very natural and easy to use. And for organizations needing large amount of storage, it's unlimited on Google G Suite Business. So that's a comfort and a value to them. You have conferencing, chat, and video calling, and video conferencing. That's done in Hangouts and Meet. So those are the applications there. So Office 365 is all the apps you've probably been familiar with if you've been in the industry a long time: Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access. Multiple plans for different needs means that there's a lot of flavors to pick from. So sometimes it takes a little bit more discovery to understand what the customer needs and what's important to them, and help them decide on which flavor is right for them. There's integrated document sharing and collaboration as well. Storage is capped at 1 terabyte with a small addition that's pooled at the user level for SharePoint. So there are limitations to storage, but conferencing, chat, video calling, and those video conferences are delivered inside of Microsoft Teams. Play over the recording of the first webinar, and you can hear a little bit more about Teams and chat and Hangouts and Meet. So Google and Microsoft's collaboration platforms. So let's talk about finding the right fit.
This is going to answer my next question. So sorry, I was just thinking, like, what's an example of a company that's like, no, I don't want to use Microsoft. What I really want is Google. You know, I really want Gmail. Yeah. I don't like Microsoft Outlook. I mean, are you really getting those kind of questions? Like, can you paint the picture for me, the kind of company that wants to use Google over Microsoft?
Yeah, so we've seen it all. We've seen companies that are moving off of on-premise email. We've seen companies move from hosted email, and they don't know which one to go with, Microsoft or Google. So we have a conversation around the right fit. There are companies that are on one or the other, and they want to, hop over the fence. And so the conversation is typically around Google when it's a company with a younger management team. I challenge everybody on this call, just go ask your kids what they use at school. G Suite and Google have really gamed that system quite well. Schools everywhere are using Gmail for email and calendars for classes, and they're doing homework projects with docs and sheets and presentations for projects with slides. Those are all Google ecosystem things. But we're finding more and more, like the industrial design firm, they like Google because of the real-time collaboration and available resources to actually take Microsoft files and store them in Google Drive and Team Drives, and then collaborate with them in real time there. But they also wanted Microsoft because they didn't want to download, upload, and convert file types constantly. And their financial team also demanded it for the formulas and capabilities inside of Microsoft Excel. So, your companies that want to be flexible and use best of breed solutions are going to take the first approach. They're going to do both, Microsoft and Google. Where does the email live and the file storage live? That's what determines whether you're Google first or Microsoft first. But Google's great for companies that want to be light. So if they want to not spend a bunch of money on computers for their employees, or maybe they have frontline workers that just need basic devices to do basic things, you can do Chromebooks for that, right? The other thing is lower cost solution. So the unlimited storage can mean lower cost for a company with large storage volumes. And if they're looking for a simple licensing structure, they're going to be a good fit for for Google. Office 365, it's going to be the companies that want the familiarity. We've always been a Microsoft shop. We've got an application that sits on Microsoft Azure, so we've got a stack, right? So if they're heavily invested in the Microsoft ecosystem, then it makes sense to just build on that ecosystem and maybe incorporate Google for their remote workforce, younger workforce, whatever it is, the people that demand that Google feature set. Again, going back to the finance, the formulas, the tables, the pivots, the stuff like that, Microsoft's very good at that inside of Excel. And then if they want to use Teams for direct routing, which is basically where you have Teams acting as your primary voice solution. Aaron, you and I had a conversation about that yesterday. I don't know if you want to add anything, but we were kind of going through this slide and talking back and forth about some stuff.
Yeah. A couple things. I think you hit on really everything that were the big differences. I think that when it comes to in-document collaboration, G Suite is much quicker than that than what Microsoft's offering. I think that if you look at the spreadsheet stuff, obviously it's much stronger on the Microsoft side. The one thing I will say is that you will need to do one of the plans where you're using the app version of Excel. The cloud only browser version is not as strong as the app version. So that's just something else to keep in mind too. There is a cloud only package that's available through Microsoft, and the Excel cloud version is not as good as the installed version. But yeah, on the Teams piece is really interesting in that there is an integration with various carriers, so you can do direct routing your phone lines into it. And very shortly, Microsoft is actually going to be offering SMB voice through Teams, where Microsoft is actually selling the voice. It's based on what they're getting out of Skype, and I think that's what they're going to use, because Skype actually was a carrier, and they're going to be using that to power the voice piece. Something to know, I don't know that you'd ever want to sell Microsoft Voice, but just wanted to put it in that it is out there, and they're testing it in certain parts of the world, not in the US right now. It's supposed to come out. The goal was spring, but spring's about over, but it should be coming out soon. Just giving you all the heads up on that.
Yeah, it goes back to doing what's best for the customer and what's best for their business use case. This is the opportunity for you to utilize AppSmart so that you can be the trusted advisor and lead them to the right solution that's best for them. But Aaron made a great point. Inside of, like, let's say Microsoft, there's a slightly more complicated licensing plan structure there. That's where it becomes important to understand what's important to the customer. If they need the Excel functionality, they need those downloadable apps, which means they need a certain license type. So that's where we need to help you gather information about what's important to that customer, and what are they used to, and how do we find the right licensing fit for them.
Yes, we just had a question. We had a client who told us recently that they wanted Google because Microsoft was way too outdated and old school, which is also what I used to think. When I was running my own business, we were a Google shop, and then I got a job at a company. I was like, oh man, these guys are so outdated running Microsoft products, And then I got into Microsoft products. I'm like, yeah, this is pretty cool. I see why people like this, right? So her question is, what is an appropriate response to provide the accurate information there? And there really is no, how do you answer that question?
Yeah,
I've got a good answer here. I've got one good solid piece of feedback that I'll say 90% of the time with this differentiate, it's preference. It's if somebody believes that it's better, they're going to be like, you know what, we're a Google shop. Brian, to your point, people are 90% of the difference is perception and preference.
And you can still make just as much commission on a Google product as you can on a Microsoft product. It used to be different. These days, they're hand in hand. So if that's the case, it's if that's what they want, great. I don't think you're not doing them a disservice by providing that, because Microsoft is so much better, because it's not so much better. It just depends on what they want to use it for.
Right.
Of course, I'm not the sales guy. I'm just the marketing guy.
Yep. No, that's right. It's down to preference. So when it comes to conferencing, it's really, somebody asked a question before about why would you utilize Teams or Hangouts versus Ring Central or Zoom or anything else that's out there. Again, we that's the great thing about working with an AppSmart. We have the world-class providers, and we believe in doing what's right for the customer. And what's right for the customer is what they prefer. So it's really about preference. Both these tools have chat, they have video and voice conferencing. They both integrate with the rest of the productivity ecosystem, meaning all the other applications in that stack. It's just down to preference. Google Hangouts Meet has a really tight integration with the calendar, and it's easy to use. That's the feedback I get most often about Hangouts Meet, is that it's easy to join a meeting and it's easy to make a meeting or schedule a meeting. And then, Microsoft Teams, Aaron, you mentioned Skype. Just so everybody knows, Skype is being deprecated, or it's going away, in other words. So it's being replaced with Teams, which is one app that does pretty much everything you would need from how do I work with you, Aaron, being that you're at your house, I'm at my house. How do we communicate via chat, turn that chat into a voice call, turn that voice call into a video call, and maybe upload a file and open that file, and you and I can be working in that file at the same time. I can talk to you, see you, and I can see what you're changing in that file as you're changing it. Microsoft Teams and Google Hangouts Meet both offer that capability. It's just down the preference. So we've talked a lot about what's in the suite. How do we get things going? You need to understand there are some core tenets of what an employee would need and what a company needs to be able to do this confidently. Cloud-to-cloud backup's important because if you ever lose anything and can't find it, it can be replaced with cloud-to-cloud backup. If it's been lost for long enough, it can't be replaced if you don't have cloud-to-cloud backup. We believe this should be a simple SaaS app that you just plug in, and you're surely going to be running those backups, and you're confident in that. And then whenever it needs something to be restored, you just log in, search for a keyword based on a file name or other metadata, and then you find it and say, okay, put it back to where it was. There are some other ways. So somebody asked, what if we already have backup? Well, there are some other ways to do it, but the search can be clunky. The backup may not actually be working. When you go to restore the file, it may not be restored back exactly to where it was before it left. And ransomware. If you're not truly backing up in a separate cloud, you're not safe from ransomware. Endpoint security is a no-brainer. Employees are using laptops to access these applications. They need to secure those devices, and it protects against ransomware, but it's also protecting against unsecure networks. So if you think of people accessing apps with the Wi-Fi at home, that's a risk point. Let's solve that. Let's put something in there for that. Tracking and visibility is where, it's part of it is how do we know our employees are utilizing their applications? The other part is how do we know that they're utilizing them in ways that are growing our business? And then, how can we see, what users are doing over time and how can we help them use more of the applications that we're giving them? And so this goes through all applications, even in the voice. And then product training is important because if you're providing these tools, you want to drive that adoption. You want people to take advantage of those tools, use those tools, but they got to know the tools are there and they got to know what the tools do and how they can use them in their workflow. So product training is on demand, and we include licenses in a bundle. So these are each separate licenses. So 3 licenses in addition to Microsoft and Google that we put into a bundle. So how do you sell it? Without much talk, let's just say you're talking to a customer that already has Microsoft and Google. And that's not a closed door. That's actually an open door where you can ask, well, are you utilizing every single bit of those applications and maximizing it for your business and growing your brand or whatever you're trying to do? We can give them access to support immediately and then take over those licenses if they want to switch over to our services and have a better experience. Whatever we're billing them for on a monthly basis, even if it's just support and services, you're going to get paid on that. But the ultimate goal is, we'd like to have them have that best possible experience. So you can absolutely take over existing Microsoft and Google customers. And so that's helping you get to market quickly. And the fastest ways to get started are, understand if they have licenses for Office 365 or G Suite, what kind of licenses are they? If they don't, let's help them figure out what they want or what they need based on what's important to them, and then get them the employee training resources and migrate whatever mail or files need migrated. That's just where you're taking things out of Box, Dropbox, a file share that's on premise, an Exchange server that's on premise, or moving things from Microsoft to Google from an email perspective. So next step,
and I think
what do we do now?
I think it's really important to mention, Steve, and you may be touching on this later, I don't know, but when we're talking about SaaS and cloud, in the telco world, in the traditional connectivity world, if you're a technology partner, you don't really need to get that supplier involved in the sales process, right? You're a technology advisor. You drive it all the way to close, and then you bring in that supplier to help with the implementation, right? What's different on the SaaS side, and I've learned this in the last few years, is that not generally speaking, almost always on a SaaS deal or a managed cloud deal, you need to bring in the provider, or you need to bring in a resource that understands that SaaS, that can really have that 365 conversation, or if it's, I know we're not going into IaaS, but if it's Microsoft Azure, is it Azure or Azure? I don't know. But,
preference.
On that cloud side, preference, right? You need to bring in a specialist like Steve, or we have a number of cloud channel managers and consultants in AppSmart. You're not expected, you can't know how to sell Microsoft 365 when you're moving upstream. So in this case, as opposed to a traditional deal on the connectivity side, it's really important that we get in front of that customer. We have great resources that can help to sell, and that can explain the value proposition, and can explain migration, what's going to happen. So just keep that in mind as a technology partner. We find close rates go up literally 90% if that partner is able to get us in front of that customer during the sales process. It involves a great leap of faith for many technology advisors, but that's a big difference between cloud and traditional telecom or connectivity. So with that being said.
Yep.
Steve.
Thanks for that.
Back to you.
Good point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what do you do next after this? After these 3 sessions, you should talk to your channel manager. You should get copies of our bundled selling guides and our customer sell sheets. The selling guides are for you. The sell sheets are for the customer. We have a finished agent resources master folder that is full of subfolders, things like questionnaires that you can use in meetings with your customers, case studies, and like I said, selling guides and sell sheets. And then you get in touch with your customers. Can't stress this enough. This is the biggest opportunity of your career if you've been in it. If you started your business after the 2008 crisis, this is the biggest opportunity so far of your career. And 5 years, you'll look back on it and you'll understand what I mean if you're questioning that statement. But this is a huge opportunity for you. Aaron, do you want to kind of run through some of the resources we're going to be providing in email form after this? I see a lot of questions related to that.
Yeah. So what we'll do after this, after the event's over, we'll have an email going out to everyone who attended, and in that email will be links to. We have selling guides, which are our custom. Those are agent-facing pieces, and what they'll have is they'll have target personas, they'll have qualifying questions, they'll have a lot of information around what the agent needs to know in order to sell. And we'll also have customer-facing pieces that you can leave behind with your customers that kind of go over what's in the bundle, how it all works, and then on the backside it has all the customer-facing benefits of what AppSmart can help them with. So that's all going out. All the qualifying questions that have come up, that will come up in the previous session, this session, and the third session will be in a separate doc, and it's all on one page. You can download them individually, or you can actually download the whole thing at once as a zip file. So that'll be there. We'll also have, there'll be some other resources that'll be in that email that's going out. And it wasn't in there that probably should be, is that agent master file. We'll put a link to that as well, so you can all see that everything we've talked about will be available.
Yeah, and I just want to say our marketing team does a great job of putting together content. That finished agent resources master folder is being added to frequently. And so I would bookmark that link when you get it and go there first and foremost, because there's probably going to be a sell sheet or a sell guide or something that you can use in your very next meeting, because a lot of what we're talking about is bound to come up. So now that we've answered several questions, Aaron, thanks for addressing that one. I saw 4 or 5 that were just answered by your quick summary there. Brian, do we want to sort of open this up? I'll let you kind of cherry pick some questions, and Aaron and I can field them.
Let's see. All right. We've got some bundle questions from the last one. Let's see. Question. What sort of discounts off of listed pricing can we expect for G Suite and Microsoft?
So I don't know if they mean list price as in what they see on the Microsoft or Google website, or what they see on AppSmart's marketplace. But there is, let's just assume you're talking about the AppSmart marketplace and you're looking at Microsoft Office 365 by AppSmart or Google G Suite by AppSmart. There's a sliding scale of MSRP and wholesale that you can discount. However, that just know that's going to affect the payout slightly. But then if you've got a specific opportunity that's large or unique in some way, we can also work with the vendors to get vendor-specific discounting and deal-specific discounting, that sort of stuff. So the answer is it depends on the scenario and what he was referring to on that question. Anything to add there, Aaron? Or
I think that covered it. I think that the bundles are already discounted. I believe it's there's a discount baked into what those are being priced at right now.
Yeah.
So when you see all the collateral actually has the pricing on it, so you can see the price below what the retail prices are.
Right.
Yeah, so
and
somebody
many of these
was asking.
I'm sorry, Steve, go ahead.
The bundle thing is key, actually. I'm glad you mentioned that, Aaron. Somebody was asking before about Bitdefender pricing and spanning pricing. Well, they can be purchased standalone. So for those that don't remember, Bitdefender is endpoint security, spanning is automatic cloud-to-cloud backup. You could totally sell them by themselves, but there's a price to that that's higher than what's baked into the bundle. Right. So I think the answer is always sell the bundle to start with. But if you do it that way, there's discounting there to be had.
Yes, I'm going to put a link.
What else we got, Brian?
Chat, right? I'm going to put a link in the chat here that is a link right to the marketplace. So many of your questions can be answered if you go to the marketplace at AppSmart. I'm going to put a link to the Microsoft bundle and the Google bundle that's for remote workforces that we put together just for the COVID-19 scenario. So I just put that in chat. Check that out, please. That'll answer a lot of questions. A lot of questions on pricing.
Real
Google
quick,
yeah.
I want to answer a question about the selling guides that Aaron and I have talked about. Somebody asked if they're co-brandable. They absolutely are. You can make a copy, you can download them, and put your logo on there.
Yeah, and if you have any questions about that, for those of you on this webinar, you can contact marketing@appsmart.com and we can help you out with that. So, I will make sure that Aaron, he puts all your logos and all that stuff on all of your,
I'll do it
on all your worksheets.
Aaron.
All right, no, but yeah.
So I got a question, and I'll let Aaron answer it if that's all right with you, Aaron. Is there an opportunity to sell a bundle even if they have an existing Microsoft or Google license?
The answer is absolutely yes. That is one of probably the lowest hanging fruit that is available in this market right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have a customer that bought Microsoft licenses or Google licenses direct from Google or Microsoft, we can transfer ownership of those licenses over. We can give your customer the help desk support and all the other benefits they get from working with AppSmart. You can sell the remainder of the bundle to them. And the cool part is, as the advisor, you get commission on all of it, including the licenses. So yes, we highly recommend that. And Steve can back me up on this, but I've heard a lot about that happening. It seems to be a great way to kind of introduce customers to AppSmart and what we can do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the conversation around how do we train our users that I referred to earlier, how do we help them utilize all that's in Microsoft Office 365? That was a Team Fusion sale that turned into a bundle sale. It's like, well, why don't we just take over your Microsoft Office 365, give them access to our support and our expert on-demand, operational guidance, everything that comes with the Buy AppSmart advantage. And then, we asked them about cloud-to-cloud backup, and they were like, yeah, we think we have it backed up, but we're not really confident. Do you guys do that? Yes. So what about device security? Do you guys do that? Yes. So it's turned from a training conversation into a bundle conversation really quickly. So yeah, and that's happening all the time.
And that's part of the beauty with SaaS is that we have partners that bring in a customer that want this, and with the permission of that partner, we can help to upsell that customer and cross-sell that customer on dozens of other solutions where that partner is now making 9 or 10 times the monthly recurring revenue that they would have been had they just gone with that one solution that they brought us here for. So once again, that's an option that we can do for partners if they want us to help to cross-sell and upsell those customers. If they don't, then we do that too, right? So another question here, please clarify what you mean by the direct routing in Teams. Do you mean a TN number porting into Teams? I believe that's an Aaron question.
Yeah, so I can speak to it as much as I can. I think when it comes to telco routing and things like that, most of the people on the phone probably know a lot more than I do about it. But from what it sounded like, yes, it's taking your existing phone lines and circuits and service and actually routing the end user's extension into Teams. So Teams becomes your phone line. So it's for SaaS world, it'd be like headless software systems. It's sort of like a headless phone system where they will just pass all of your phone information. Your Teams becomes your phone portal. It becomes your soft phone. So you're no longer using the RingCentral client. You're just using Teams to manage all of your communication. How the technical side behind exactly what they're doing to accomplish that, I don't know. I'm sure there's somebody within the AppSmart organization though that has that information.
Okay, great. Another question here, this is probably for you, Steve. Is there an IaaS play here? This is unrelated to Microsoft, right? But as we're at, well, actually
Yep.
It's not, there's an Azure play here, right? Are you seeing an uptick in Azure and moving data and apps from on-prem into the cloud through what we're seeing now with COVID, or is it a little too early for that?
No, there absolutely is. So there's all sorts of companies that have business critical applications that they're using VPNs and sort of, I'll call it wonky architecture to access when remote. They're really built to just access when you're inside the office. But now those are obviously obsolete. So yeah, there's going to be an infrastructure as a service play. And just generally speaking, like if you have a workload with a critical business application and you're looking to give people easy, reliable access wherever they're at, Azure with Active Directory, sync and access control built in is one option. We also have a relationship with IBM where we can do bare metal servers, which basically means the hardware is theirs too. but it's spun up in IBM's cloud. So there's a lot of use cases for it, but the most common that we see is I've got an old business application that I just can't replace right now, but I need people to be able to access it from anywhere, and I need that to be easy for them to do and reliable for the continuity of our business functioning. Where do I put it and how do I get it there? We can help. And then, there are some others that we've talked to some companies about as well, but I'd say that's the main use case for Azure and IBM.
Cool, great. Another question here: if customers transfer Office 365 licenses over to AppSmart, can they still get Microsoft support? That's from Jeff Rains. I think I'm understanding the questions. Yes. You want to take that?
I can answer this one. Yeah, the answer is yes, they can. The bigger, more important answer is they probably won't want to. If you're talking about user support, anybody who's tried to work through Microsoft end user support specifically, we've gotten a lot of customers just because of dissatisfaction with that. And it's nothing against Microsoft as a support unit. You look at the volume of people that are trying to call in there, particularly right now. I think that you're talking multi-day lags before you can get tier 1 type support issues solved. But yes, as a user of the software, you still have access. Doesn't matter who manages the actual licensing. You have access to Microsoft support no matter what happens.
Yeah, so it's not a bad way. Yeah. You guys see.
So I was going to say, just to add to that, a lot of people don't know this, but there's a specific team at Microsoft that is staffed with very highly qualified engineers, and that team is only accessible by tier 1 Microsoft CSP partners. CSP is cloud solution providers. So we have access to that team, and there was an electrical contracting organization that was utilizing us to help them deploy Microsoft 365, which is different than Office 365. Again, going back to the more complicated licensing flavor and structure that Microsoft loves. But basically, they wanted us to do a lot of things with updating their Windows 10 enterprise computer operating systems. They wanted us to deploy and keep updates on all of their Office applications that users were actually downloading onto their physical device. And let me answer a quick question on devices. The device shouldn't matter. In today's day and age, Google and Microsoft work on Mac just fine. Organizations that are heavy on Chrome and Chromebooks, those are going to be a little bit better served by Google. Obviously, but the idea is if you can get to it in a browser, it'll work, but you should probably just go Google and call it a day. If you're on a Chromebook strategy, you're already more than halfway there. But anyway, back to this electrical contracting organization. We had several times to reach out to that tier 3 Microsoft Premier Partner Support team in order to execute the project for this electrical contracting organization. It was a very successful project that for about 500 users. I think the agent, was really pleased with the several thousand. I think it started out as an $18,000 monthly recurring revenue stream for him. Within 6 months, that went up to $26,000 in recurring revenue because they added users. So I'm going to answer another question here. Can you add and remove users' flexibility? Can you do that with AppSmart managing Office 365 user counts? Yes, you can. So they had added some users and added some licensing, and so the revenue stream grew. It was obviously a financial win for the partner, great opportunity for him. And for the customer, they found value in the ability to utilize us to access that Premier Partner Cloud Support team at Microsoft that they would not have been able to access on their own. That is a team reserved only for supporting partners and the customers that a partner has.
So, and we answered the question that was asked by Jeff. He said, so where is the AppSmart support? It is 100% in the United States and Canada. And he says, so is AppSmart on top of Microsoft support? and I'm not sure what that means, but maybe you want to address that.
Yeah, Steve, you can speak to that.
Yeah, most customers want AppSmart to support them. The SLAs with Microsoft are kind of poor. They're especially strained right now, like Aaron said. But I mean, here's the thing: when they buy AppSmart solution, even if it's a standalone solution, that includes tier 1 to tier 3 support by AppSmart engineers. We staff people that are MCSA certified, MCSE certified, and we're that tier 1 CSP partner. So there would be really no reason for them to call Microsoft directly. That's kind of, why would you want to do that? Because the whole benefit of working with AppSmart is you have us to provide support. And if it's for some reason something we can't figure out, we have access to the best Microsoft text that you're going to get on the phone anyway. So to say, all right, well, I bought this solution from AppSmart and I'm paying for the premium support offering and then go directly to Microsoft doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But I will say one thing. Let's say the customer doesn't buy AppSmart solution. So they don't have the premium support built in. It's not an all-you-can-eat, all-inclusive consumption support thing. They're just buying the license and that's it. They can still get basic help desk type stuff from us. We're going to help them if we can, but we're not going to, let's just say we're not going to go above and beyond for that customer if it's a tier 2, tier 3 thing, because they're not paying us to support. It's not baked into the cost. But they can go to Microsoft, and if they can't get what they need solved from Microsoft, they can immediately access our support, and we charge hourly for that. Or they can upgrade to the Buy AppSmart version of the solution that has that premium support experience built in. Now, I'm just going to say this, and I'll say this once, and I'll say it as direct as I can, and then I'll stop. Sell the Buy AppSmart version. That's the way you need to go to market with this. That's it.
Yeah, and when you're selling out there, specifically Microsoft and Google, Nick Collins made the point, find the pain points, right? What are the pain points? It's not about Microsoft or Google. It's about what are the pain points that they solve. If they have licenses with Microsoft, Google, and their IT guy loves to answer questions about, like, how do I log in? I lost my password. Can you get me a new password? Like, if he gets really excited about that, if he gets an email from his boss in the middle of the night asking a question about Google, then maybe it's not a lot of value in having their Microsoft product with you and with AppSmart, right? If they have an IT leader who is way understaffed, who hates dealing with the minutia, and would rather focus on strategy and how to drive revenue through technology, then there's value in him offloading all of that support to you and with AppSmart. And that's where a strategic conversation starts, right? So, the advice to a technology advisor would be, let's focus on the pain, and let's try to uncover that pain, and then we can have the license conversation and the support conversation. So there are a number more questions in here. I really apologize that we don't have more time to get to these questions. We will answer them all. So please stay tuned. Steve is about to jump on here, and Aaron's about to jump on here and start answering some of these questions specifically. But we have another webinar starting in 4 minutes. It's going to be on the connectivity side. So this is right now in the world where everyone's working from home. All employees are worried about, how do they bring their companies remote? And the technology advisor is asking, how do I need to change my service offering? How do I need to pivot? Can I sell broadband now, right? Can I sell SD-WAN? The answer is heck yeah, but there's a way to do it and there's a reason to do it. What is VPN as a service? That's something that is super hot right now, right? What can I sell in terms of what I'm doing with conferencing, with wireless and hotspots? These things are exploding right now. we're seeing these every day. So we're going to share those with you here in a few minutes. And with that in mind, that's going to be another team. So appreciate your time, Mr. Steve, Mr. Aaron. Thank you. And we look forward to hearing from you guys very soon on another training session. So, and we'll see the rest of you here very soon.